Hey, Lord, welcome to My Hero Academia, chapter number 378 review. This chapter is titled The Story of How We All Became Heroes, Part 4. Last time My Hero Academia, we got the big reveal that Labrava is working with the heroes, and that she is hacking for them, and she ended up taking down one of Skeptic's networks that he was running last time. And in this week's chapter, we start off right after that. Labrava has just hacked into Skeptic's networks, and we cut over to the Task Force HQ, where she and Detective Tsukiyuchi are, along with a bunch of other police officers and other people of the works. We see that here in the Task Force HQ, a bunch of people running around yelling various things. For instance, we understand that there is a request from Gunga, they need backup, and there is a massive signal interference going on, preventing contact with most of the heroes. But we see Labrava as she's talking to Skeptic, and she sort of makes a note here. She's like, I'm remembering something from my days as a shut-in. Just for practice, I once worked my way into a feel-good ink server, and replaced all the ads with an optic kitty. As we sort of get a few notes here about stuff. So first off, Feel Good Inc. is Skeptic's company, and he is the one who runs that pretty much, right? And also, Optic Kitty is a branding of a renowned clothing company, and it says that if you check volume 19, it is somewhere in there. I actually don't remember that, but being that that is the one wherever Labrava is and Jinto are introduced, it does make a whole lot of sense, right? And we see that Labrava continues. She's just like, the code's functions are wildly long and the scope of the variables are nuts. I gotta say, your coding habits haven't changed much since then. And we see Skeptic here, and he's just like, what? That was you? I can't believe that. And he's just like, we took a massive financial hit from that. Why'd you do that? And Labrava's just like, oops, my bad. And we see that here, Skeptic is actually seeing all of this Optic Kitty stuff broadcast to him right now, that Labrava is doing it again. And we see a dance here, and it's called the pump dance. And he's just like, make it stop, I can't believe this, right? But Skeptic's just here running around, he's like, damn it, she's taking over every single one of my systems. But I won't relinquish the UA evacuation system. Those two are the most accursed ones. And Skeptic yells out, he's like, you've pinpointed my location, haven't you? Well, what if I flee? You still lose. The flames of the revolution won't be doused. And we see that Labrava's here, and Tsukiyuchi's just looking around as one of these police fellows calls out. He's like, Tsukiyuchi, UA's altitude is continuing to drop. It's hurtling towards the ground, and it won't stop. And we see another person over here, and they're just like, Aiba, hurry up and do something. But she's just like, the systems got wrecked by that last impact. I'm trying to code in a brand new program so it can keep staying up in the air, but it's really hard to do. And she's just like, there's not enough time to do it. And we see this person is just like, we should have known it as a bad call to leave one of our final keyline defenses to a convicted villain in custody. And Tsukiyuchi's here, and he's just like, a crime is a crime, and we can't erase the past. But it's not always a lost cause. As we go back to where we see Aoyama sort of sitting there and knowing that he was the traitor in UA, and knowing how the whole class sort of rallied around him and how that ended up. We cut back over to where Deku and Shigaraki are fighting, where Shigaraki last chapter proclaimed that I am your villain, and Deku's here just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And we see some more of Shigaraki's mind space here. He's just like, I don't care if you don't understand what makes us heroes or villains, right? As we see they're getting ready for another show-off. We cut over to Mandalay, where she's pretty much telepathically saying some orders, and she's just like, we've lost control, prepare for a crash landing. As we see a bunch of people are all just like, what now? And everybody's like, get ready to fight, as a whole bunch of twices show up, and they're all like, oh my gosh, what's going on? We specifically see Manga Fukadashi and Kaminari here, and Kaminari's just like, Monoma, Sensei, right? And he's just like, oh my gosh, all this is going on at once, like, what's happening? And we see the fighter pilots that were Stars people, and they're just like, Ethan, those villagers are asking for a taste of our lasers. And he's just like, and we'll hit our allies too. Oh, hell nah. They've been invaded from inside, and we can't see out of our squadron. But they're just like, wait, who's that? As we see Gentle is here. And he is below using his elasticity quirk to bounce up the UA back high into the sky. We see Skeptic run out of his sort of hideout where he was, and we see Hound Dog is here along with Miss Joke and, oh, I do not remember his name, but the Earthquake dude. And we see that they're all there, and they're just countering Skeptic and pretty much capturing him. And we see that Miss Joke here is like, made sense for us to nab you since we were in the area. As we see Hound Dog is here, and he's just like, fate works in funny ways. As we cut back over to where Gentle is, and we see that Tsukiyoji's here, and he's just like, it's up to you, Tobita. As, of course, it's Gentle's real name. Sela Brava uses her love quirk to power up Gentle, and we finally get Gentle's first words. He looks very unshaven, and his hair is all sort of slicked back, and it's Gentle. It's just so cool, and he's just like, naturally, this is the least iota, boy. As we cut back to about a month and a half ago at Mizukuzu Prison after the assault on Tartarus. We see that whenever all of the Nomus and All For One and Shigaraki's, who was controlled by All For One at the time, were busting everybody open, we see that a bunch of people are like, the living quarters got busted wide open, we can run now. We see Muscular here, and he's just like, with this, you're all free now. And everybody's like, your lives are your own. Now do as you see fit. As everybody's like, we're free? What? You really mean it? Am I dreaming here? What's going on? And we see a bunch of the villains are all just going, time for my revenge on that scumbag that sold me out. I know someone out there who still needs a stabbing. Haha, the world's gone wild, huh? As we see Gentle's here, and we see he's standing in front of all these villains, and one of these villains is like, what do you think you're doing? Get out of my way. But Gentle's here, and he's trembling, and he's just like, I ask you, is this truly what you desire? As we see one of the cops who was talking with Gentle is there, and it's just like, the only people who say they can't turn their lives around are the ones with no real desire to change. They're too impatient, they want results right away. And we see Gentle there, and he's just like, I dashed headlong down the wrong path without the courage to strain myself. And we see this the same villain here, and he's just like, damn, what's right? It's what we want here, not what anybody else wants, right? And we see that Gentle is sort of flashing back to whenever Deku was around him, and Deku is saying, I want to be the guy to show them all a bright future. As we see that Gentle's here, and in the future, as he's getting ready to use his elasticity quirk, he's like, I thought that only being together would bring me joy. As we cut back over to where the gorilla cop was, and we see Gentle here, and they're all just like, 7 prisons came under attack, and only this one had no escapees. And we see the cop is here, and he's like, what is it you want? Well, Tobita, and he's just like, I only wish Sela Brava. And he's just like, absence makes the heart grow that much fonder. So we see Sela Brava's here, and she's just like, I'm as greedy and stubborn as they come, you know? And joy brings me loads and loads of your joy, Gentle. And we see that Gentle uses an attack, Gently Super Lover, as he creates a whole elasticity barrier, and UA comes finally crashing down into it. And he's there, and he's just thinking as he's doing this, tell me, boy, do you once again find yourself fighting for the joy of others? And he goes back to whenever he tried to save that one man the one day, and he's just like, on that fateful day, I wish only to save someone who'd fallen. And we see around here Mandalay's like, we're saved, but how? It's like a trampoline made of air. As Deku's like, what? An air trampoline? As he realizes, and he's just like, wait, it's Gentle. And we see Gentle thinking, yes, to be a service to others was my only hope. As Deku's here, and he's just like, Gentle, no, I can't believe it. As the 5th user, Daigoro Banjo, appears in his head, and he's like, bad news, kiddo, the balance is broken, he's starting to stand up again, we're not in freefall anymore. But the second his hand touches the ground, And we see that as Shigaraki's getting ready to put his hand to the ground, a bullet flies past and chops the hand off. And we see that somebody else is standing there now, and that Tsukiyuchi is giving a sort of monologue here. And he's just like, no matter how far they've fallen, each villain is still a human being. It's on us to recognize that about them. We absolutely have to. To borrow a phrase from a friend, deep within each of our hearts, we'll find their starting point, their origin. As we see Lady Nagant is also here, she just used her rifle to help out Deku too. And that is where we finally get the title drop, and the to be continued for next time. So, a lot of things to note here. First off, this is one of the best My Hero chapters we have had in a long while. First off, we also get the continuation of the story of how we all became heroes, something that we haven't heard in an extremely long time. Of course, last time we heard that was with all the stuff with Shinso training and everybody just getting ready to be a hero and everything like that. So, first off, we know that Labrava's here, she's helping out. We know that Skeptic is captured. We see this whole thing with the baby and the pump dance, which is very interesting. Yue's getting ready to fall. Deku and Shigaraki are starting to square off some more. So of course, as we get later, Dungoro Banjo coming out and saying how dire the situation actually is. But then we get the whole of the stuff with Gentle. And it is nothing but amazing. Gentle is one of My Hero Academia's best villains. And we see here that he is truly changing for the better. And of all of the characters that should have a chance to be redeemed in My Hero Academia, he is one of them. Also, along with Deku's realization of who it was, it's just a really great moment. And then at the end of Lady Nagant, another, I wouldn't say amazing villain, but we really just see here two people who made bad mistakes in the past, who became villains, who are finally changing, and that is all because of Deku. And we know that Deku has the power to change people. I mean, he changed and helped out Koda. I mean, he's done so much for so many people, and these are two villains that he has impacted, and now these two villains are coming out to help the heroes in the most dire of needed places. This chapter is also 15 pages, which is a big improvement over the about 11 that we've had for the past 2 or 3 chapters, right? Also, this chapter does have a good amount of, like, 2-page spreads, and not quite 2-page spreads, but, like, big single-page spreads and just cool stuff like that. So, overall, this is the best My Hero chapter we've had in a long time. Gentle, the GOAT, has finally returned. And also, Nagant is here in a very cool action, as we understand that everybody can become heroes. And that's going to be it for me. Tsukiyuchi's speech at the end is very cool. Again, this was My Hero Academia chapter number 378, titled The Story of How We All Became Heroes, Part 4. And this is going to be Glowpasma231 out.